you are taking it personal because you are so sensitive to the fact that like you know that there's something wrong. In my opinion, when I know that there's something wrong, I'm going to take things personal. I'm going to take everything as a personal front. So to me, that says you know something is wrong. You know that you did something wrong. And now you're trying to find every little thing to personalize, creating yourself to be the victim.
What I want to bring to everybody's attention that may or may not be obvious, I get a lot of unsolicited advice as to what I should be doing with this group and et cetera, et cetera. The big picture that I think we all miss is that this is a bird's eye view into the different relationships with estrangement. And 2 months ago in February, when we had our very difficult conversation, we really stepped on one another's toes, had a hard time. And when I post this episode on YouTube, I will link to that one as well. And we went through this whole thing that looked very much like stressed family dynamic relationships. And I'm talking about all of us here, the five of us. And the distance that we needed between us and the hurt feelings that we had, not intentionally, but we just did it. Now, all of us in February's call came onto the call with a lot going on in our personal lives. We had so much going on in the background of our lives. All of us came onto that call exhausted because we had so much going on. So we need to be thinking about this as far as what is happening that causes estrangement. And now, because it's such a big buzzword, maybe we're reading too much into it. And I don't want to discredit it because it is a big deal and we want to talk about it. But after the conversation in February, I put together 6 phases that lead to estrangement that we'll talk a little bit about today. And then afterwards, I will send out this letter either through email, or I'll put it on, add it to the YouTube text as well. But what I would like to do, ladies, is have you all share like how you feel about kind of being in this estrangement fishbowl of what we went through last time with each other and kind of stepping on one another's toes and just the feelings we had, not intentionally trying to hurt one another, but we just said some things, not directly to each other, but they were just very hurtful. Now, whether we were getting triggered or what was going on, but I know Cheryl and I had a lot of tears last time. And we appreciate so much Aaliyah and Jillian sharing from the pain and the frustration of being an estranged child. And it's just such an important conversation. So we don't want to mute anyone. It's just important to hear what everyone has to say. So does anybody want to jump into that and just kind of share maybe what was going on in your life last time and what you took away from that? And did you need the space, want the space, never want to see us again? You just decided to show up today because you had absolutely nothing to do. What was going on your mind after the last call?
Okay, I'll start. After the last call, I just felt I needed a break. I needed to just calm down my own thoughts. And because we have become like this little family, I didn't want to break our family. And so I think, I don't know, I think it was a time to regroup. And that's what I've been doing a lot lately since then, because there's just so much going on for me. And I know everyone else. And so now I kind of take a step back on everything, regroup and redirect, and really think about things. And so that's kind of where I am, but I'm so happy to be back today.
But it was hard. You definitely felt.
Oh, yeah. Yep. I felt from that call, I felt the whole estrangement bubble that we're all in. I felt like we're, even though we are a multi-generational, I just felt like everything was the mom's fault. Uh, um, every bad thing that's happening in our kids' lives or in the past was just all directed at the mom. Even though I have to say, from most of the moms I talk to, they all take responsibility, whatever percent it is. I don't believe anything is 100% on either side. So whatever percent, but I do feel that the moms are taking responsibility. And thank God we're not one of the hate groups where there's no responsibility and they, kind of hate their kids. We're not that. So welcome everyone who's here today, because we are not that. But that's where I was kind of feeling with that, with the last call.
I'm curious as to why you feel like that. Was it because of what I said, simply because I was trying to give you perspective, or?
You know what? I don't know if it was specifically that might have been one of the catalysts, but it just felt like, I don't know, with everything going on in the world and every the places we all were in that day, or whatever we were going through, I just felt like everything once again, or was just all the mothers, I think when you both said that you did not want to be moms, that kind of hit deep. But
do you remember what you said, Jillian?
Yeah, I do. I remember explicitly saying that I do not want to be a mom simply because of the way that I was treated, and that I don't want to put that onto somebody else. That's not blaming the mom. That's saying that I don't want to continue my own generational abuse, and saying that I personally, I struggle with so much of my own mental health, and I struggle with so much of this stuff that I've been through, that I can barely take care of my cats sometimes. I got a new couch, and that was like one of the most exciting things I've ever had happen in like the last 8 months. And that like motivated me to be better. Not my cats, not me. It was that I could take care of my cats now, and they have a new surface to sit on. I'm sitting on it right now and I'm ecstatic. So it's not my mom's fault. It's every woman before me that has not been able to heal herself. And now I'm taking that responsibility. I'm not placing that on my mom. I'm placing that on me. So by saying that I don't want to have children because I know that I will F them up, doesn't mean that it's my mom's fault. Sure, my mom was a catalyst in this, but it's also the fact that I recognize, and I'm mature enough and I'm responsible enough to see that if I brought a child into this world right now or any time in the future, that would be detrimental. And that would also be like just another person in this world that is just as scared, alone, and afraid as I am. And I don't wish that on anybody. So no, I'm not gonna be a mom who just tries to heal her wounds by creating a life and making it their problem. And it's not my mom's fault that she did that. We're all conditioned in a certain way to be that way. And I'm not saying that this is like a reason for us to find conflict. I think that this is a beautiful reason to come together, because I still feel like that motherless child that may have just turned 29, but I still feel like a lost 19-year-old trying to find her way in life. So no, it's not my mom's fault. So how can it be her fault that I didn't have the guidance? I had a wonderful stepmom to step in. I have you guys. So if I needed like the guidance or lack thereof, like to blame, then I would just blame that. But no, it's me. It's me. I do not want to have children simply because of the fact that I don't feel mature enough. I don't feel responsible enough, and I don't find the need to have that, simply because I know that I would just cause another scar on a life.
Aaliyah, you said the same thing.
Yeah. And then I just I'm enjoying life just without one. So I just I don't, it just feels freeing that I don't have really anybody else to take care of except myself, I guess, too. So it's just nice that to not have to worry about that in my life. And I know last time we all got together, I was like dealing with a lot with my mom and she was stressing me out, and um it's still there. The stress doesn't go away, but I think you just like at different periods you accept it and you just like live with it, and then other times it just kind of builds. And so I know when we all got together, everything was like building on top of everything.
And your mom's 76.
Mhm.
And you're kind of dealing with end of life issues with her, and it's solely falling on you. You're 37. I did that with my dad in my early 50s, and it was the most challenging thing that I did. So you're trying to get your own life together, launch your own business. You've got all of this stuff going on, and now you've got to manage and help your mom.
Right. Yeah, it just is. It feels heavy, I guess, another burden, as bad as that seems to say. It's just like a stressor, an unnecessary stressor because of her choices in life, because she didn't take any like fiscal responsibility, any kind of responsibility. And now I'm having to, like, I feel like I have to discipline her or something. I'm like calling her, like, why are you doing this? Why should, like, I feel like if she made better choices, she could, like, if she ate better or took care of herself or anything, it would be easier. But I'm trying not to place blame on her, right? Like when I do talk to her, I talked to her for like an hour yesterday. I'm like, no, you just try to eat better. She's like, well, I don't add salt to anything. I was like, but it doesn't mean there's not salt in the fast food you're ordering. So it's just like, it's just heavy to try to take care of someone else. And so I think that's another reason I don't want to have kids, because I'm still taking care of like my mom.
Yeah.
You're connected.
Yeah. Dr. Ruth?
Hi. I may, if dogs start barking a lot, a tree just fell, just a warning. I don't know what it fell on. So I may have to mute and go check that out.
Well, we already know you're kind of like I Dream a Genie. You're like the genie. You pop in, you pop out, and you just like spread your magic fairy dust.
That's
so whatever
the story
you need
of
to
my
do.
life. I'm a popper. I'm a popper in many areas. I like that. We could call me a popper. Okay, so sorry, I got really distracted by what was happening with this tree. I've had a fire at my house recently in the woods, so I'm a little bit hypervigilant right now. So
like I said, so many things going on in our lives. Yeah.
So do you have a question for me?
Well, just if you wanted to wrap up your feelings after the last conversation. I mean, you had a lot going on with family as well. They were wearing you down.
Yeah, I was with family and everybody was sick and we didn't know it, but it was COVID. So yeah, came to that not feeling good. And my big worry was that this group, our little family, was going to fall apart because of what was happening. I couldn't just feel it. I don't think it was bringing anything really up for me, but I get in protective mode about Jillian. She is mini me. So there's that piece too, where I'm so connected to Jillian, and I don't know, we all know it. I don't know if the audience, can tell, but
but that's a fair statement. We're so connected to our kids.
Yeah.
And these two on this panel as well. We're now so connected, even after just a few months.
Yeah, and I get protective of Aaliyah, but quietly, because Aaliyah's quieter. I don't worry about Jillian being able to express herself. I worry about Jillian leaving and estranging, and it because I'm so connected to her. And the same with Aaliyah, but in a different way. Aaliyah, is just, you're just quieter. And I feel like because you're quiet, I want to jump in and say, wait, everybody make space for Aaliyah right now. She needs to say something. Like, so I'm definitely in that mother mode with you too, but in different ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've always been the quieter one, and I definitely have stepped out of my comfort zone with this because I am used to sitting in the background and not expressing myself, and you guys kind of, I don't want to say force me, but you give me the space
You can tell
to
I
speak
force you.
out where I usually don't have to. And this year especially, I've had to, by taking ownership of my business and going out on my own and losing a business partner and stuff, I've had to step into areas where I haven't had to before. And so it's nice to have this group to just express and have space and have a reason to, because yeah, I always am quiet before. Yeah.
I think some of the biggest things that was happening for me last time is when you guys were saying like your frustrations and how your mom was on your nerves and how you feel the aftermath of just being in a dysfunctional family through childhood. The really, mom, did you do your best? There was just so much guilt that was elicited because for the most part, yeah, we absolutely did our best in the time frame and with the tools that we were given. But then there's those times when we know we didn't absolutely do our best. And that's what we just kind of carry along, right? And then that's when you mention something that just really seems to hit home so closely. And I think that's where Cheryl was coming from by saying it just felt like everything was our fault. And I don't think you guys were saying that.
Mm-mm.
But I think it's just how it feels now because of this big wide open wound called estrangement.
So we all still have more work to do, even though we've been through several levels, if we're triggered by something. And that's why we're together. And Lisa and I got on early today and we were talking about, I am to the point where I kind of like being triggered. It's odd to say, but it gives me this little nugget of, whoa, something's going on. Because I like to learn and I want to be better. So I like having the nuggets. I didn't personally feel, I wasn't personally triggered by anything other than what I shared, but I didn't feel in the last conversation that mothers were being blamed. And I kind of, for Aaliyah and Jillian, kind of grieve for them in a way that I'm okay if they don't want to have children, and it's their decision. And I totally get why they don't want to, because honestly, when I'm looking at my mom and how I was raised, Lisa and I talked about this too earlier. There were things about her that we didn't really have a relationship. It wasn't a bad relationship, but it really wasn't much of a relationship. I don't know that I ever really planned to have children, but I had one, and I'm very glad I did and glad I had that experience. So for Aaliyah and Jillian, it's like they won't have that. I don't want them to have regrets about not having children, but I can't protect them from that if they decide not to.
I think in a way to build off of that is that at least speaking for myself, in a way I had to parent my mom already because she was in such a state of mind, especially towards the end of me having a relationship with her, that everything was not her fault, or she would not take accountability for anything, and she was victimizing herself. And sometimes that's where I feel the triggering, because it will be just the most innocuous things where my mom would have something to say, and I would counter it, let's say, for example, and then it would just be I don't understand why I'm always the bad guy, and I would have to almost infantilize my mom and really take into consideration, is this going to trigger my mom? Is this going to become a fight? Is this going to be something that like I have to take care of? And in a weird way, it turned into me being the adult in the relationship when that's what I never wanted. Like my mom would always say that I was her best friend, and that turned into her not seeing me as her daughter anymore and not seeing me as a person who needed protecting. Instead, I was her protector based off of the things that were going on in our lives at the time. And I'm in no way saying that it's like my mom's fault, because she didn't have the tools readily available to her to be that person that I needed, to be the person who should have been there for me. But yeah, at this moment, it feels like I already took care of my mom for so long. Like it's now time to take care of myself. And like with everything going on, I don't have the capacity to even conceptualize seeing a child in my future.
Yeah.
You know?
That makes sense. I think it's a wise decision, really, to accept where you are in your life and not bring that in. There's, oh gosh, I have so much to say. So many things are coming to mind. I'm even thinking about grandchildren right now because, I have grandchildren that I don't see, and for a long time it was really hard to be around kids, period. And now I'm finding like it doesn't matter, Jillian and Aaliyah, if you have your own biological child, it doesn't matter. If someday you want to have a child and for some reason you don't or can't, you can still have a wonderful experience with a child from, somewhere, because there's always, children need a lot of people in their lives, and you can be that great, extra wonderful person that only you can be, to them. And I find other things in my life to fulfill the grandchildren thing that I don't get to see. I do stuff at church with the kids that are that age and that kind of thing. So, you can.
Yeah, there's so many ways to touch lives, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And be like a mother figure in other people's lives that are lacking it. And I feel like that's where you guys have stepped in for us in this group, because I was craving an older mother figure in my life that was mature and that did work on themselves and stuff. And it can't be my actual mother, but you guys have stepped in a role that has been really fulfilling and really great in my life. I can't wait to come visit Lisa and see her. I can't wait to like meet you guys in person. It's just been so great to have you guys and reliable and here and our emails and our back and forths and stuff.
Yeah.
I think
This has been very healing. What, Lisa?
So based on what Aaliyah just said, with us being this family that we have chosen, what we all still almost went through last time was a form of a phase that could lead up to estrangement.
mm-hmm.
Number one, there's a conflict or disagreement.
Right.
Whether we intended it to be said directly to one another or not, there was a conflict or a disagreement with how things were getting interpreted. And then there was a communication breakdown. We can only do so much in an hour. And everyone, I see you raising your hands. I know you want to talk, but I can't stay focused on this conversation and really get into the core of what multi-generational estrangement looks like if everyone's throwing out their own individual opinions. We go too many different directions. So I'm sorry, hang with us. We'll try to get to your questions at the end. So there's a communication breakdown. Again, part of the problem is time. We only have an hour to do all this stuff. And now there's this distance. There's this distance that naturally happened. We got off the call. We're all just going, what just happened?
Yeah.
What was that about? What is this group over? Did everything just implode? Did she mean that towards me? Should I be taking that personally? Did I offend her? And then number 4, the resentment and the hurt. Okay, so now we start thinking about these things. And now we start formulating stories, make believe or not, in our minds. We start telling ourselves this story about how things went down for us without even knowing the other person's intention. Attempts to reconcile may or may not happen. All of you just said, you're so busy. Gosh, it's so busy. It's so hard for us to reach Jillian. Aaliyah has to talk to me. I pay her. It's so hard to reach Jillian.
That's
It's
the
so
ticket.
hard. And we're just like, is she okay? I want to talk to her. I want to know how she's doing. I want to make sure she's okay from last time. And we just didn't have the opportunity to do that. So now there's potentially just this, attempt to reconcile, but too much space has gone by. And she might be thinking, it's just easier for me not to be in this group and not have to get up early in the morning after working all night and do this group.
Mhm.
And then failed reconciliation, where you're just not willing to listen. Or you think my way is the only way. It's my way or the highway. And now there's just no chance of reconciliation. But distance could be a very good thing, I think, in estrangement. The distance of just like, don't open your mouth for a while. Do your own processing. If you're really hurting and you can't do that, we are going to open up our healing course again today. I know you guys have been waiting for us to do that. The wait list has been sitting out there for a while. We're doing that at the end today. But it's just, those things are a signal that you need to do your own work. If you're really taking everything so personally, you've got to start looking at your own stuff. And like Dr. Rue said, she actually likes getting triggered because it means there's something going on that she hasn't dealt with yet. And when you get to the realization of what it is, it's like, oh. But we're playing all of these roles, whether we're related or not. And I think that's an important message too. We play these roles in our other relationships too. How many people live in estranged marriages where you don't even talk to that person? You don't relate to that person. You live in the same house, but you really just don't even have anything in common anymore. I mean, it's not just mother-daughter, mother-son relationships. Estrangement plays out in all of our lives in many different ways.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jillian, and Aaliyah too. I love you both for explaining, that one statement that seemed to like trigger me and made me feel like a victim. I was like, oh, they're, like mother, but I totally misconstrued it. And that just goes to show you totally. And you explained yourselves today, succinctly, like what you meant. And it's communication. It's all about communication. Thank God we have this group, because look, we're doing it. And I just wanted to say, I've had about 3 reconciliations of different estrangements in my life in like the past year, the past few months, and not with a child. One was with a girlfriend. One was with my sister. I forget the third, but my sister was after, oh my God, 15 years. And she chose me out of the 6 siblings, and we're, back together. Another was a girlfriend. But each of those estrangements, they said that they were going to do it. It was not just leaving with no explanation or a total surprise. My girlfriend, it had to do with COVID and politics and, just too many disagreements. And she said, that's it. I don't want to be friends anymore. But it was wishing each other well, and okay. And it was a couple years. And now we picked up our friendship again after, many conversations, and we're just softer, gentler, more accepting of each other's views now and moving forward. My sister, it was, she told us she was going to estrange from all of us, and she did, and we knew the reasons. So it just shows me, again, communication is key.
Okay, I want to ask you a hard question based on something you just said. Some people, you said, unrelated to family, your family, they're just choosing estrangement because of unresolved conflict or just difference in opinions. And the internet has done a very good job at pinning us against one another. There's so many things to turn on each other for right now. So if somebody needs that time and needs that space, or is choosing a different direction, and they are called our kids, why can't we allow them the space and time to do that? Why I know it hurts. I get it. I miss my kids, my daughter, but why are we taking this so personally and making it such a big deal? Like, and why are we villainizing them? Bottom line, why are we making our kids out of villains when they're just saying, I'm tired, my childhood was less than stellar, I need some space, life is hard, I'm dealing with nuclear war threats, I'm dealing with locusts, I'm dealing with economic collapse, I'm dealing with this, I raised you, I'm doing this, I'm trying to figure out how to keep my head above water. Why is it not okay that I'm not talking to you right now?
It's so personal.
Oh, Leah, go ahead.
No, I think we might have been saying the same thing. It's just so personal, right? Because it was like your guys' responsibility. It's like, so I think it hits in a different way when it's your child.
It goes back on like saying that I had to infantilize my mom. Like, it is your responsibility. It was the mom's responsibility. So in part, yes, there is some blame that is being placed there. But like I just had to say to my grandma the other day, like, you have to let go of control. Because she was complaining about how everybody's trying to like, well, I'm so used to having 5 kids and like being the responsible one. You haven't been responsible for a child in so long. Let go of control. And the people around you who are trying to help or trying to tell you something aren't doing it out of malice. You are taking it personal because you are so sensitive to the fact that like, you know that there's something wrong. In my opinion, when I know that there's something wrong, I'm going to take things personal. I'm going to take everything as a personal front. So to me, that says, you know, something is wrong. You know that you did something wrong. And now you're trying to find every little thing to personalize into your own, I don't know, own little like victim space, like creating yourself to be the victim. Also, hello to your dogs, Dr. Ruth.
Yeah, sorry.
But I have no sympathy when it comes to that, because I've heard it and I've heard it and I've heard it. And it's like, you know, my grandma asked me, why do I take everything so personal? Like, you know, I'm so used to being the one in control. No, you're not. You're the one controlling your own narrative. So the anything that comes outside of the narrative that you have created for yourself, you're going to feel the victim too. You're going to feel attacked. You're going to feel like somebody is upset with you. And you know what? They damn well may be. But that is also okay, because that's how you get to the root of the problem, is accepting that not everybody has to be in jolly good form with you. It is a-okay to have people upset with you. It's okay to admit that you've done wrong, and it's okay to let go of control. I don't care if it hurts. That's the whole point, is that it's gonna hurt. That's how we grow as humans. We feel the hurt. We recognize the hurt. We see where the hurt is coming from and what stemmed from it. And that's where we grow, especially in our relationship with estrangement. And I am really fired up today about it, because I had a dream about my mom and the whole situation. And, you know, coming from last time, like, I just have a lot to say. So please mute me if I'm monopolizing the time.
We will. Aaliyah, we know you won't take it personally. That's what we love about you.
No, I won't. I'll just be like, yeah, I needed that.
Yeah, and I think it's taking responsibility a lot, like, and I think that's why we're all here, is because we have learned how to take responsibility when, like Ruth said, when you're triggered or when you're hurt. It's like, that's a time to reflect in and like, okay, why is this happening? And I didn't learn that until like my late 20s. To like actually like reflect in and take responsibility for like why I'm getting triggered. And I had to learn that as like a teacher, and as I became and I stepped into directing and leading other people. That's when I had to be like, because you work with all different types of personalities, and that's when you're like, okay, this person is driving me nuts, and it wasn't her fault. It was actually something inside of me that I needed to work on. And but I wanted to blame her. I wanted to be like, no, it's just her. It's her fault. But then when you realize like, okay, why is she driving me nuts? It's like, oh, there is something in me that I hadn't worked on. And I think when we can recognize that, that's huge. And it's frustrating when you're with people who will never do that. And you have to accept that.
And you feel like you're the one always doing the work.
You're always the one doing the work.
It gets exhausting.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on something that, like, because I can see the chat too for some reason right now, but like, Jan, I didn't mean to say that I don't care if it hurts. Like, I do care, but there's also like, you know, I recognize you saying that you love him more than you and not recognizing what he needs right now. Maybe right now he just needs that space and that understanding of like, okay, I will always love you and I will always be here, but you do what you need. Because it's not the fact that you have to constantly glom on and have their lives be about you or be in their lives or know everything. Like, it's okay. Because deep down, there is always going to be that love. There's always going to be that like connection. But sometimes in order to grow, things need to have some room to breathe.
Yeah. It's like aerating your yard. Yeah.
Exactly.
You have to aerate yourself.
Or like a
that would,
sometimes when it breathes, it gets a lot better.
Yeah.
I would be naive and stupid to think that I could give my kids advice for navigating the world today. Except all I can do is say, I'm here if you need me. But good luck out there because it's a very different world, one that none of us has ever experienced before. And astrologically speaking, Pluto just moved into a brand new sign and the energy is completely shifting for everyone. Now it only does this, goes completely through the rotation every 248 years. So we'll have to Google like what was going on in the world during those times, but we've never in our lifetimes experienced the energy of what we're experiencing right now. And that's why this feels the way it does, because there's so many unknowns. But what comes from collapse? A way of doing things a lot better. So if our family systems have collapsed, or if we're facing estrangement, if you're breaking the cycle and you don't want to have kids because you just don't want this whole thing to continue, that's got to be okay, because we're recognizing that it's got to change and it's got to be better. And I think the perfect example is how our environment is hurting so much and our soil is so depleted, and your generation is about homesteading and rebuilding the soil and no-till and doing all these things just to rebuild and feed themselves and garden and do all of these things. What a wonderful thing. It's coming full circle. I remember asking my mom, you planting a garden? She's like, no, I'm not planting a garden. It's way too much work. I had to do that so much when I was young because their lives depended upon it. But now it's like this beautiful thing that your generation is doing, and it's very much needed.
Astrologically speaking, going off what you said, I mean, I'm just coming into my like Saturn return as well, so like everything feels in turmoil to me. Like it is now the rebirth of so many things. Like we had the eclipse, we had that, and like as we were saying in the email, like Dr. Ruth and I have so much in common astrologically. And like it really shows that like there are so many also outside factors, not just like we're not just who we are as people, because it's like I'm digging my heels in the dirt and this is me right now. Like there's so many outside influences, including environment, like people, the things that affect us, stress. And I'm not like a super astrology nut, but I kind of am. So I'm outing myself right now, but I totally believe that there is a pull on us that has something to do with like the way that we interact with the world and ourselves. Like if you can't tell by the moon and the rocks and stuff I now have behind me, like there's something to be said about the way we interact with the world and how the world interacts with us. And I think that if we can't recognize that within ourselves, like, and reflect on that, like everything that we do and react to is a mirror of ourselves. And sometimes that mirror is not like you're having a bad day. When we look in that mirror, it may be a hungover us. And that's not always the best looking type, but to be able to recognize that and to see that, like, it's not just the blame doesn't lie in one place or the other. It lies all around, and to take into consideration all aspects, even if you think it's woo-woo bullshit.
Yeah.
I love the way you share. I
She
do.
just puts it out there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the chats and they're growing. And like Jillian is our person here, just making it happen.
It's like word vomit. So like
I love it.
You need to.
I love it.
Well, what a great conversation that we could just come together like this and laugh and pick up and explain and feel heard and everything else. I mean, I think that's just so important coming off what we did in February and having to skip March. And what was interesting about the March conversation, so just me, Dr. Ruth, and a few people who joined us, is and we talked about the February conversation, and one of the moms, so Cheryl wasn't there, one of the moms went on and on and on about how she's so sick of parents getting blamed for everything. So she very much took the conversation the same way. And what was interesting is that like everybody who was on the chat and watch it, that everybody started nodding as well. So we went from this very positive, uplifting conversation to just immediately that one person bringing the entire group down with so much negativity and hate for the kids. And here's what's interesting. So we talked about it in our Wednesday community, and one of the members said, "That's not what we're about. What was that? What happened?" And another one said, "I got sucked up in it. I was nodding my head. Yeah, it's not our fault. It's not our fault." And what's so important to note about this is that this is what we're all caught up in. This is the web we're all caught up in. Your kids might wake up in the morning and start thinking about you and thinking, today's the day I'm going to reach out. They turn on their phone, they're bombarded with so much negativity. And now it's like, oh, I can't deal with that. I can't think about that. I don't want to have a hard conversation today. I just got to go brush my teeth. I mean, it's to that degree that I think we need to understand of the energy of what, like Jillian was saying, that we are all caught up in, that we might not even be able to identify is swirling so quickly around us. Well, I think it's time for our message to our generation already, which this time went by very quickly. And then Aaliyah and Cher have a hard stop right on the hour, so we'll let them go. I do want to hear some of the comments for those of you that raised your hand, and if you want to say something quickly, if you can put it in the chat so we can acknowledge it, that's easier. That's great, because we really don't like to go beyond an hour. And I know a lot of you have been waiting to join our Wednesday community, and so I want to get you into that today. And so if you're really interested in joining the community, make sure you stay and I'll walk you through that. But first, I want everybody to share their takeaway for today and just the message to your generation. Who wants to go first?
I can go first. I think it's just, to look in when you do feel that trigger, to start enjoying the triggers like Dr. Ruth, and just like let that be something that like really like don't place blame. Look in when you do feel those things.
Look in, yeah.
So for me, from my generation, I just want to say that, so now I'm on the other side of 65. And for me, life feels short because of things going on all around me. Life is very short. And communication is the key. Communication. You don't have to walk on eggshells. But you do have to be cognizant of how the other person is feeling. And I just try to do that with everyone around me, even people I don't know. So that's my message.
Thank you.
My message would be just let go of control. None of us know what we want to be when we grow up. None of us. And it's okay to feel scared. It's okay to feel alone, but asking for help is really important.
Dr. Ruth, did you want to go or you want me to go?
I just want my own show because I have so much still to say.
We'll keep running the tape after we're done.
Okay.
You just talk forever.
Okay. I'm going to tag on to even what Jillian said, and I've seen some control stuff come up in the chat. Because letting go of control, that's hard. And that's that level 2 work, isn't it, Lisa?
Yeah,
But,
level 2.
and that is hard because even in my estrangement, I went to court to try to get a visitation to see the grandkids. So that was the control. And I didn't realize at the time that that's what I was in and was doing. I, in my mind, had a different perception of what I was doing. So,
Yeah, you took it all the way to Washington.
I went to court in the state, and then I went to appeals. Yeah. Yes. And I've done so much and it's gone nowhere. You think you have control. I've contacted so many people in Washington, in other places to try to get things changed. So, and nothing has happened. Nothing has moved. I have no control. So that's the thing. It's like, let go of, just let go, and work on yourself.
Caveat, don't let go completely. Don't let go of your love. Don't let go of like the relationship you want to have, but let go of that control.
Yeah. Because you don't have it, really.
Yeah.
Either.
And it feels suffocating when you're trying to be forced to do something and you're just like, just give me space.
Yeah, when you're on the other side of it. Yeah. It's a different message. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. You can interrupt me anytime.
Perfect. That was such a great addition. I appreciate that.
You can join my show, Jillian.
Yeah, absolutely. And now so many wonderful things to say. Okay, so as an Aquarius and as somebody who just likes to see the bigger picture and just say things that maybe everything has to be the way it is for a reason. So right now we are moving from the energy of Capricorn. Okay, Capricorn, think parent when you think of Capricorn. Okay, very responsible. You know, those were the little kids when they were 7 years old that started mowing lawns for money, just very responsible. So think Capricorn, think about structure, this whole thing. Moving into Aquarius, rebellious, freedom loving, the revolutionary. This is the energy that we're going from. And doesn't that just describe estrangement perfectly? That breaking away from the parent structure, finding ourselves, moving into freedom. But now I want to share something that I saw on Facebook today. Picture paints 1,000 words. So all day long, I can talk about the universe and how all of this is divinely orchestrated. And we are all so lucky that estrangement has impacted us the way that it has, because it gets us to look in a different direction. But here's what it means to be a mom. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
A few things your mom may have not told you. She loves you more than herself. She has watched you while you were sleeping. Every time you are upset, her heart sinks. You make her life meaningful. She thinks you're 1 in a million. You are the best thing that has ever happened to her.
Yep.
That's what parenting feels like. It doesn't go away. But do we need to let go of the control? Yes. Hold on to the hope. Let go of the control. Absolutely.
Hold on to the hope and the love, and let go of the control. Yeah.
Jillian, Aaliyah, you guys okay?
Yeah, and I think I saw a few like comments in the chat, and I don't think no contact is a form of control. I think it's the opposite. I think it's letting go where they need to at the time. I know when I went no contact with my mom, it was what I genuinely needed at that time. It wasn't a sense of control. It was actually a sense of letting go.
Oh, that's so interesting. We're going to have an hour, another chat on that. I know we only have 5 minutes, but yeah, I see it as control.
You do.
Yeah.
I do too.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, Lisa, can you put that on the agenda that we can talk about that sometime?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's pick that up next time.
That was a whole chat in there.
Yeah.
I'm replying to them because I'm so invested right now. But like, I found it as control because everything in my life was so controlled by my mom that like it was finally me taking control of my life and just being like, no, like I have to live for me right now.
Yeah. And in not a bad way.
No.
So, and maybe that's what Aaliyah is speaking prom is the way to remove from the negativity and stuff was.
Ooh, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, me too.
To be continued.
Okay, we'll pick up right where we left off on that. Yeah, that's a good conversation. That's an important conversation. All right, ladies, we appreciate you. See you next month on the 3rd Saturday. All right, take good care, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.